Hello, I'm Xavier of Kalia, and today I'm reviewing Call of Cthulhu. H.P. Lovecraft is one of those authors whose influence only grown with time. While he wasn't very popular in his lifetime, his work has become very influential in horror, especially when it comes to the idea of cosmic horror. And when it comes to bringing Lovecraft's ideas into games, one name stands above the rest: Chaosium. Their Call of Cthulhu tabletop RPG has become one of the most definitive Lovecraftian experiences. And in 2018, that universe made its way into video games with Call of Cthulhu, developed by Cyanide and published by Focus Entertainment. The game takes heavy inspiration from stories like Shadow over Innsmouth and the Call of Cthulhu, while telling an original story on its own. In my opinion, this is one of the best Lovecraftian games ever made. So let's find out in my review of Call of Cthulhu. And if you want to avoid spoilers, skip ahead to this timestamp. The story of Call of Cthulhu begins as a detective mystery, but gradually develops into psychological and cosmic horror. Edward Pierce is hired to investigate the deaths of the Hawking family on the isolated Darkwater Island. As he investigates, each clue raises new questions, creating a strong sense of mystery and uncertainty. One of the story's biggest strengths is the atmosphere. Darkwater feels isolated, decayed, and filled with distrust and strange traditions. The game creates tension through its setting and character rather than relying on constant jump scares. This fits the Lovecraftian style very well. The story also explores themes such as forbidden knowledge, madness, secret cults, and humanity's inability to understand the supernatural forces. Pierce's psychological struggles makes these themes more personal and add uncertainty about what is real. The investigation gameplay supports the story effectively, examining clues, reconstructing events, using skills, and making dialogue choices make the player feel involved in the mystery. However, some supporting characters are underdeveloped, and the final part of the story becomes more rushed and surreal than the slower opening. Call of Cthulhu is a strong psychological horror story with an excellent atmosphere and effective Lovecraftian themes. While its character development and pacing are not always consistent, the mystery and sense of unease keeps the story engaging. The gameplay of Call of Cthulhu focuses mainly on investigation, dialogue, and exploration rather than combat. Players examine environments for clues, question suspects, solve simple puzzles, and uncover information to progress the story. This slower approach fits the detective theme and encourages careful observation. Investigation is the strongest part of the gameplay. Crime scene reconstruction let players examine evidence and piece together what happened, while exploring locations for documents and hidden objects rewards curiosity. The skill system also adds variety, with abilities such as investigation, psychology, medicine, strength, and occult influence dialogue and character interaction. Exploration is straightforward but effective, with compact areas containing useful clues and interactive objects. The puzzles are generally easy and focus more on observation than complex problem solving. However, the occasional stealth sections are less polished with inconsistent enemy behavior. Combat is extremely limited, which fits the game's horror atmosphere but may disappoint players expecting more action. Dialogue choices and story decisions give players some influence over relationships, information, and endings, although the branching is relatively limited. Call of Cthulhu uses investigation and exploration effectively to create a tense psychological horror experience, with its strongest gameplay coming from solving mysteries rather than fighting enemies. The graphics of Call of Cthulhu focuses more on atmosphere than technical realism, although the game does not have cutting-edge visuals. Its art direction effectively captures the dark and oppressive mood of Lovecraftian horror. Darkwater features foggy streets, decaying buildings, abandoned areas and dim interiors that create a sense of isolation. Environmental design is one of the game's strongest visual elements. Locations such as mansions, libraries, tunnels and occult chambers have their own atmosphere. Lightning, shadow, fog and rain are used effectively to create tension, while the increasingly surreal environments reflect the game's descent into cosmic horror. However, the character models and animations are less impressive. Facial expressions feel stiff and some characters' movement looks awkward. Texture quality is also inconsistent, with some detailed environments alongside simpler areas and occasional visual glitches. Call of Cthulhu may not be visually impressive by modern technical standards, but its strong art direction, lighting and environmental design successfully creates the unsettling atmosphere needed for a Lovecraftian horror game. The music in Call of Cthulhu plays an important role in creating its dark and unsettling atmosphere. Instead of constantly using dramatic music, the game relies heavily on silence and ambient sounds such as creaking floors, crashing waves, wind and rain. These details make Darkwater feel isolated and uneasy. The soundtrack is generally subtle, with eerie orchestral themes becoming more noticeable during important or disturbing moments. This helps the music supports the slow progression from mystery to psychological horror without becoming repetitive. The voice acting is mostly effective, especially Edward Pierce, whose restrained performance fits this serious and troubled character. Most supporting characters are convincing as well, although some minor performances can feel less natural. Sound effects are another strong point. Footsteps, creaking doors, whispers and supernatural noises create tension even when there is no visible threat. Distorted voices and unsettling sounds during hallucinations also strengthen the psychological horror. Call of Cthulhu has strong audio design. Its combination of atmospheric music, environmental sounds, voice acting and subtle effects effectively builds tension and reinforces the game's sense of cosmic dread. Call of Cthulhu delivers a compelling blend of detective work and psychological horror. Staying true to the themes of H.P. Lovecraft, its strongest qualities are its immersive atmosphere, engaging investigation mechanics and slow-burning narrative, all of which works together to create a tense and memorable experience. The game is held back by dated visuals, inconsistent stealth sections, and the final act that feels more rushed than the carefully paced opening chapters. Even so, these shortcomings do little to overshadow its strengths. For players who enjoy mystery-driven adventures and cosmic horror, it offers a distinctive experience that prioritizes suspense, exploration and storytelling over action. This was my Call of Cthulhu review. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe. I'm off making my next review.